This is Athens, capital city of Greece and symbol of a great civilization. Over 25 centuries before the United States was born, the Greeks were building temples, palaces, and theaters. They founded modern philosophy, mathematics, and medicine.
But the Greeks were fighters too. They had to be. This region was in a constant state of conflict for over 500 years. The Persians, the Romans, the Turks, the Goths, the Vandals, they all fought to conquer this land.
To survive, the Greeks created a martial art so efficient and modern, it's hard to believe it comes from an ancient civilization.
We've come to this nighttime tournament to get our first look at the reborn fighting style of pankration.
Oh, we got a fight on our hands now. Oh, he got kicked in the head, yeah. When they start wrestling, it makes me want to just get out there on the mat. I mean, these guys are tough, but I just want to pick them up and slam them myself.
I'm holding Bill back. Make peace with the Greeks.
Oh.
Translated as all powers, pankration means exactly that. Anything goes.
Punches, takedowns, throws, and joint locks are used in punishing combinations by pancratius to force an opponent into submission. Pankration was one of the world's first mixed martial arts, and its techniques are just as effective today as they were thousands of years ago. In ancient Greece, even the philosophers were fighters. Socrates himself was a soldier and may have trained in the battlefield precursor to pankration. In the Greek armies, every soldier had to buy his own armor and his own weapons. But thousands of soldiers just couldn't afford even the most basic equipment. So their only choice became unarmed combat to the death. But like all civilizations, the Greek states eventually fell. From the 3rd century BC onwards, Greece began to collapse.
And a few centuries later, the city-states were gone. And so was pankration.
For 1,600 years, the fighting art was lost to the world. Then, in the 1970s, an American named Jim Arvanites attempted to reconstruct the ancient art.
But pankration really took off in 1995, as Greek scholars and athletes began using archaeological evidence to bring this ancient fighting style out of a legendary past and into a brutal present.
On the beach, we met Las Savides, a pankration trainer and a leading expert in its revival.
So how did pankration first get its start?
Well, actually, we have been in a lot of research in the last 15 years, and we just exclude everything that was not included in that. Ancient vases, sculptures, statues, and started making this program that you see here.
So really, the culture and the art took a big role in you finding out what pankration was, right?
Today, there are around 1,500 pankrátios training and fighting in Greece. They stay true to the history and techniques of the deadly original, with just a few changes for safety.
Hand strikes to the head are illegal, but full-force kicks are just fine.
Definitely not like a Western boxer. Ooh. I guarantee he comes back with something now.
Like mixed martial arts, pankration fights can be won by submission or knockout.
And like boxing and karate, points are awarded for contact, techniques, and difficulty of the move executed.
After watching these pankration fights, Las gave us a challenge. Learn the techniques of pankration and fight. Konstantinos Skepernakos, a pankration champion and member of the Greek Special Forces. There's a good chance he's going to give one of us a real beating.
My schedule's clear.
Okay, what about you?
Sounds good.
Okay, that's good. Then it's a deal.
Our training began first thing the next morning as we headed down Athens' back alleys in search of the world-famous Malios Gym.
The gym was founded by George Malios, a kickboxing legend and expert striker. George is one of the handful of men dedicated to making pankration world famous again. Malios began by demonstrating some of his signature kicks and punches.
Known as krohirimos, these standing strikes are used to weaken an opponent before taking them to the ground. We begin with the straight punch. Used for close-range combat, the hands are kept high to protect the head. The fists are driven in straight, quick jabs at the target.
Not good.
The goal isn't to score a knockout, but to gauge distance and keep your opponent in front of you at all times.
Now this is a little bit different than, say, Western boxing because you don't see hooks and uppercuts. It leaves you open for takedowns from different angles. These punches are all direct to your opponent. You get him moving back.
Okay.
Direct, and it's to the point.
After giving our fist a good workout, Malios showed us another stand-up strike. But this one wasn't about keeping distance. It was about winning a fight. It's called the gastrizon, or gut kick.
Yeah. Exactly this point is your target, so your foot has to be between these lines. And your heel, use your heel.
One of the most powerful offensive moves we'd ever seen. The gastrizon is a straight-line kick to an opponent's midsection. The attacker's knee and foot are chambered like a piston, and then stomped into the opponent's stomach, genitals, or thighs.
Unlike most kicks that land with the side, ball, or top of the foot, the gastrizon uses the heel to deliver the blow. This alignment of the heel, ankle, lower leg complex channels some 2,000 pounds of force into the opponent. More than enough to break a baseball bat.
I like that.
According to legend, ancient Greek soldiers perfected these kicks to the point where they could smash through an opponent's shield. But it wasn't just a story. George offered to demonstrate.
Oh! All right.
Even though we had just learned it, I decided to give it a try.
Some guy kicked it.
2, 3.
Oh, man, that's tough. I was just kicking it flat.
No.
Here?
Yes. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Nice.
American muscle wins every time.
But shield kicking is just the beginning of our quest to prepare ourselves to face the champion. Next, we're going to travel back to the bloody arenas and killer Olympics of Pankration's glory days, and learn a move that we can use when we take our fight to the ground.
Religion and violence always went hand in hand here in ancient Greece. To experience that link ourselves, Jason and I headed west, across the Isthmus of Corinth, to the Temple of Zeus at Nemea.
This is one of the oldest and most revered locations of the classical Greek world. Before a battle, soldiers would slaughter animals on the steps of this temple and pray that the blood of the sacrifice would please the gods.
Though pankration may have been born in war, it found its greatest fame as a sport. Soon after the Greeks founded the Olympic Games in 700 BC, pankration moved from the battlefield to the stadium. Beneath the city's famed Temple of Zeus, we met Dr. Emmanuel Mixagianakis, who tells us the story of the so-called heavy games at the Olympics.
So why did they call them the heavy games?
Because there were no weight requirements, and the heaviest, most powerful were the first in the sport.
You hear that, little guy?
Whatever, Bill.
Everything would stop for the games, including war. Thousands of spectators would gather from all over the Greek world to watch the brutal fights. One fighter from Sicyon was nicknamed Fingertips because he'd start each fight by breaking his opponent's fingers. Strictly a men-only event, any woman caught even watching the Olympics was thrown off a cliff.
The games were sometimes blood events. They were very dangerous. Death was not excluded. But the champions were crowned with laurel leaves, and they had their names written in stone pillars.
MMA fighters and other martial artists today use the signal of tapping out to show their submission to the opponent. And it was here in the Olympic pankration fights that a form of tapping out was invented.
But it was considered the greatest humiliation a fighter could face, and many chose to die rather than end the bout in disgrace. The most common cause of death in these Olympic fights was suffocation caused by fighters in chokes refusing to tap out.
To train for our chance at glory, we headed to the neighboring valley of Argos, home to some of ancient Greece's greatest pankration athletes.
There, we met Nektarios Lykodopoulos and a group of students engaged in a fierce sparring practice. I recognized these moves from my own MMA experience.
These guys are taking these guys down quick. Rolling knee bar, double legs.
It's amazing how similar this ancient Greek fighting style is to modern MMA.
So you guys aren't real big on throwing a strike. You just want to get in there and take them down, huh?
We're giving emphasis to the takedown because we believe that the takedown is the half winning.
Yeah.
It's half of winning the takedown?
Yes.
All right.
Or half of losing, depending on what side you're on. Let's go to the ground a lot.
Nektarios tells us that like modern MMA, more than half of modern pankration fights end up on the ground. And that means some of the most important maneuvers in a pankratist arsenal are takedowns, to drop an opponent to the mat and kick off a ground offensive. Sounds like just the tools we need to face a champ. We began with one of the most effective throws, the arpag padayan, or double leg takedown.
To execute the takedown requires perfect timing. Eyeing an opening, the pankratist drops low and penetrates his opponent's defense.
Grab his legs, bring the other foot together.
Using the power of his hips and thighs, he lifts his opponent straight up into the air before body slamming him back to the ground.
The higher you can lift your opponent in this move, the faster he'll hit the ground. It's not just your force working against him. His acceleration due to gravity can mean his head hits the ground with a 3,500-pound impact. On a hard surface like concrete, this is more than enough to cause a serious brain injury.
Put your head up, his shoulder back. When you have it here, use your head to swing him.
Seems simple enough with my football and wrestling experience.
Under the punch, in.
Okay.
Oh, double leg up.
Swing him. Very nice.
This double leg takedown is great. Once you get a hold of his legs, you drive up and through, use a lot of the same power you use on a football field when you're driving through a block, get him up and slam him down. Then once he's on the mat, it's all wrestling from there, baby.
So that's cool now if the guy is punching. But, a lot of times when you're fighting, you don't have time to do that because you're clinched, like you're in here.
Yes.
So is there a move that you guys really like to use that works really well from the
Yes,
clinch?
there are some moves. Usually use the shoulder throw. On paŋkrátion, we call it ripsi omu.
Okay.
Shoulder throw.
Can I see it?
The shoulder throw begins in a clinch, but instead of holding your opponent, you reach up and hook his forearm, while simultaneously turning his back and pulling him forward and off balance. Once he's moving, you get your hips under his and roll your torso forward, heaving him up and over your shoulder. Like a throw in judo, this move demonstrates the effectiveness of combining two simple machines to achieve a complex task. First, the opponent's arm works as a lever to optimize your control. Second, your own back serves as a pivot point for the throw. The strength and stability of your back allows you to throw a much heavier opponent than in a move that requires you to lift him.
I'm gonna come in striking. Oh. God, I gotta stop eating so much food.
And try to trap his hand
Here.
Okay.
Here, here. And then I'm stepping here. Hips low.
Exactly.
Here. And then into the armbar. Crack it like a stick.
Very
There
nice.
you go.
There you go.
This is a really good move to use if the guy that I'm fighting is going to be bigger than me, because I'm going to be able to use his own size advantage against him. This is actually a lot like a judo throw we learned. Is it kind of similar, like where you're stepping and you're throwing them? The only difference,
Of
I
course,
guess.
similar. Actually, it's a move, it's a technique. You can see it in many martial arts around the world.
Some historians believe judo may have gotten the technique from pankration by way of one of the greatest Greeks in history, Alexander the Great. They didn't call him great for nothing. By the age of 33, he'd conquered pretty much every country in the civilized world. His soldiers would have trained in the Greek martial art of pankration and brought their knowledge with them as they conquered. Some historians credit Alexander with spreading pankration to India following his invasion in 326 BC. From India, Buddhist monks may have brought aspects of the art to China, which in turn planted the seed for all Asian martial arts, including Kung Fu, Karate, and Muay Thai.
Between our stand-up strikes and throws, we're beginning to feel pretty confident about the standing portion of the fight.
Now it's time to learn how to survive when the fight goes to the ground. For our next move, we're going to train with a former bodyguard and MMA cage fighter.
And learn a technique that comes from the toughest warriors in Greek history, the Spartans. This is Dimitri Glazakos, a direct descendant of Spartan warriors. A former bodyguard and MMA fighter, Dimitri is an expert in ancient Greek close-quarter combat.
But now, would this be the type of knives that like a Spartan would carry back in the day?
Yeah, it is very heavy.
Oh, wow. This thing is really heavy.
Over a foot long and weighing almost 7 pounds, these short swords were designed to cause the maximum amount of damage. But Spartans had other ways to do damage too. Spartan soldiers had to train in pankration for 23 fanatical years, starting at the age of 7. They were such serious fighters, they boycotted the Olympics because eye gouging and biting were forbidden.
Instead, Spartan soldiers used their unique form of pankration for just one thing: to kill an opponent on the battlefield. In ancient warfare, 2 lines of armored soldiers would meet in a clash of shields. In the chaos of battle, it was all too easy to lose both your weapon and your footing and find yourself on the ground. But because of the armor, strikes were of limited use, so the Spartans developed other killer moves.
So I guess this would pretty much break his neck, huh?
Exactly. So these are some of the grappling moves that you would incorporate if it went to the ground?
Yeah.
Works for me, Bill.
Yeah, they look great. Can you show us some of them?
Yes, we have to go to the gym, I think, and do some work.
Okay.
Let's go to the gym.
Back at the gym, Dimitri told us that the first step to Spartan ground fighting was securing dominant body position.
So I go down. I go there, you know. I don't want to be trapped somewhere like...
Known as passing the guard in MMA circles, the key is to shoot past the legs, plant a knee, and destroy your opponent on the ground.
So we've seen a lot of statues of the Greek soldiers. They have another guy with his arm behind his back. You know, it's really iconic. Is there a move like that in pankration we can use?
Yes, we're going to do something similar.
This was our first ground maneuver, a killer joint attack inspired by a Spartan disarming technique called the akroshorizen, or shoulder lock. And it hurt.
So is this what you're talking about, Bill?
Yeah.
Is this the move?
This is it.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Want to see it again?
No.
Okay.
For this shoulder lock, you first throw your opponent to the ground. When he's there, squeeze his head between your thighs and twist his arm behind his back, locking the shoulder joint and leaving him at your mercy.
So this puts pressure on the shoulder.
Exactly.
Bill, does it feel like there's pressure there?
Yeah.
This move uses your opponent's arm as a lever working against him. The greater the torque on his shoulder, the greater the pain inflicted. And exceeding the joint's normal range of motion causes more than just pain. The soft tissue, muscles, and the bone can all be seriously damaged by this pressure.
I'm kneeling here, I'm hitting. He's giving this up here. You're turning, you're getting on both your knees, right? It's really hot in here, sweaty, nasty mats, get burns all over your faces. And training that shoulder lock's really gonna help me. Because if I get that guy in that right position, now I know where to place my hands, tighten the knees, hold them down, and break that shoulder. The fight will be over really quick.
This move is designed to make an opponent submit, and is inspired by the bone-breaking maneuvers of the battlefield. It was techniques like this that helped Sparta crush their enemies. Perhaps Sparta's most famous battle took place in 480 BC. Just 300 Spartan soldiers fought a heroic last stand in Thermopylae against an invading army of an estimated 200,000 Persians. With over 600 Persians for every Spartan soldier, these were impossible odds. But unbelievably, they held out for 3 days, and when they lost their swords and shields, all they had left was pankration. The brutality and strength of the Spartans has never been forgotten, and continues to inspire soldiers to this day.
And the moves they use continue to be part of the MMA fighter's arsenal. Moves like the Achilles leg lock that Dimitri taught us next.
So you're using the ridge of your forearm right underneath the back of his soft tendon, and then by pulling your shoulder back and pulling
I go
up,
back, and then I turn a little.
it puts pressure.
Yes, I put pressure also here with my knees.
The move begins with your opponent on his back. After breaking his guard, you trap his ankle against your torso, then lock your arms against the back of his legs, right on the Achilles tendon. Then, falling backwards, you lock your own thighs around your opponent's trapped leg. The goal of this lock is to stretch the tendons at the top of the foot to the breaking point. The strongest tendons have a tensile force threshold of just over 400 pounds. Applying any more pressure than that can tear the tendons from their base or snap them in two.
Just here.
Yes, the other one also. Here, down.
Now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And that.
It doesn't take a lot of pressure to make this move work. Bill's got all of his body weight behind it, just a little lift of the hips and pull back of the shoulder, and I'm limping out of the ring.
Stop here, and turn. And do it. Yeah? And the leg break.
This is like your old pro wrestling days, Bill.
This move is really technical. It's really difficult for me. I like it. If I could get it in, I think it's something I can use. But it's such a speedy move, and it's such a technical move. If you don't know exactly what you're doing, and you go for it, and you fall back, and the guy's slippery, you're in a race to see who punches someone in the face first.
Which is why Dimitri told Jason and I we needed practice in a real fight, right now. Jason was up first.
Pankration is so close to my MMA background, I'm able to dominate this guy pretty fast. Feels great.
That's the shoulder lock we learned. Guess it works.
Then it was my turn. This guy was a colossus.
You're gonna try to get under those elbows. There you go. Now use it, suck it, hips. Passing a lot.
I was trying to use the leg lock we just learned, but I just wasn't fast enough.
That's it. One knee in the middle. Now there you go, now push. There you go, now go, pass. Get on top of the mount. Get on top of the mount now, get on top of the mount. Nice. Good work, guys.
It's really nice to go against another heavyweight. Most of the time I'm stuck with the little guys, but he had great strength, real compact, good power.
So it led to a really interesting match. I tried to go for some of the shoulder locks, but he was really strong. He fished out on me and kept those arms in. You know, maybe a couple more minutes it would have turned out differently, but we do have a fight coming up.
With our stand-up strikes, our throws, and our bone-breaking joint locks, our pankration arsenal is finally filling out.
But we have a long way to go if we want to be ready to face a pankration champ in the ring. To get ready, we're going to one of the most ancient fortresses in Greece. There, we'll experience exactly the same brutal training used on fighters nearly 3,000 years ago, before they faced death in the arena. The Greek poets wrote epic verses about the beauty of these mountains. But we're here to learn how to kill. Our destination, Agostina Castle, to join one of the toughest martial arts training regimes in the world.
Dating to the 4th century BC, it's one of the oldest standing fortresses in Greece. And a hell of a climb to get up to.
The Greeks invent philosophy, diplomacy, theater, but no elevators. There better be a princess at the top of this.
No princess, but we did find the camp of Aris Makris, a world-renowned pankration master and an expert in ancient Hellenic training.
Don't let him move away from you, and then he's got all this room to turn around on you. You move in, you stick with him when he's going down. This is a form of pankration as close to the ancients as we possibly can. What we try to do is basically go with full use of our weaponry. Our legs, our fists, our knees, and then going for the initial takedown as we weaken the opponent.
So you guys put all the different elements together, the grappling, the submissions, the striking, the clinch, the wrestling.
That's right. That's what pankration is. It means total skill.
Perfect. Aris invited us to train with him and his guys, but the invitation came with a warning.
You know, you have to understand that the ancient Hellenics, they trained harder in their methods than the actual competition itself because the competition was so brutal. So if you guys can hack what the ancient Hellenics were capable of doing, I don't think you'd have a problem. But you ain't gonna do that standing here. Gentlemen, you gotta move your butts out and get changed. Let's go.
All right, Captain.
All right.
Let's go get changed. Let's go back here.
We quickly realized pankration wasn't just about moves. It was about preparing your body for battle. To do that, Aris plunged us right into an ancient Greek conditioning routine. This was like nothing we'd experienced in a gym. No weights, no treadmills, just the tools used by fighters more than 2,000 years ago.
First, we drilled with a 150-pound log to bulk up our shoulder and back muscles. After that, we bench pressed each other's dead weight for 50-rep intervals.
Everybody gets his turn. Nobody bows out. Let's go. Move.
No, don't bow out, Chambers.
You're how many pounds? 3,412?
Let's go. Put it up.
Needless to say, this was a little easier for me than for Jason.
9. Come on. Come on. Push. Up. Come on, Jason. Up. Push. Push. Come on, Jason. Push him. Push him. Push him up. Push. Push. Push.
Nice.
What do you think of that exercise?
It's like bench pressing a pickup.
Then we had a 5-mile run across the rocky terrain around the castle's perimeter.
Let's go. Pick it up. Pick it up.
It was a hell of a warm-up. But Aris reminded us that endurance was key to becoming a true Greek athlete.
There's something that in the Greek world we call the inner pneuma. And that is when you got to reach deep down inside and you got to be able to bring that innermost deep energy that you've got out. So you got to be able to work while you're exhausted. It's when you're exhausted that you can determine whether or not you're a good fighter.
And so the training continued. To perfect our coordination and strengthen our punches, we hurled 15-pound stones, deadlifted 200-pound urns, shin-kicked and elbowed logs wrapped in twine,
17, 18, 19, 20.
and pounded sacks of sand, pushing our bodies to the limit to prepare ourselves for the punishment of full-contact pankration.
Nice and smooth, very good.
I'm more sore today than I have ever been working out at a gym. I'm sore in places I didn't know I could be sore.
Finally, as evening set in, Aris invited us back inside the castle to mend our aching bodies by the fire and enjoy a traditional pankration dinner.
This is exactly what they used to eat. High protein, high fiber, low carbs, and even the type of carbs that they had was very natural. And because it was all stone milled back then, it provided a lot of energy.
So these guys really knew how to eat for fighting.
Yes, they did.
It was amazing to think that nearly 3,000 years ago, the ancient Greeks knew just as much as we did about what to eat to strengthen and repair the body. The protein in the meal would help rebuild the microscopic tears we'd put in our muscles during the day's training. And the balance of fiber and carbohydrates would give us energy for our next day. And we'd need it.
The next morning, Bill and I woke up early to spar like the ancients. Aris taught us that the key to winning an ancient pankration fight wasn't any single move. It was the combinations. Learning to transition effortlessly from standing strikes to throws to grappling, and ultimately to a choke that could end the fight or your opponent's life.
Here's my first window of opportunity. Here's my second window of opportunity. This is where I come in this way. Carry in, that's it, very good. Turn them over right away, turn them over, pick them up, that's it. Right up, go for up, 1, 2, that's it, all the way around. Take and flip off this way.
I have a hard time once I get a hold of the neck letting it go.
That's a good thing, man. That's a good thing. Pancratius were headhunters to begin with. Right down, wrap your arms right around. There you go. So you're pulling him backwards, you're cranking him up. Slip jabbing right under. Tug his face to the...
After the sparring, it was back to the mountaintop trails for more Spartan-style conditioning, but with a twist.
Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. Move, move, move.
Now, we had to run with a man on our backs, learning to keep our balance, even with the additional weight. After the run, it was back to our old school conditioning. And then, as the sun went down, it was time for another round of sparring.
Slip into, that's it. Now pull his head, that's it. Use your wrist to pull him back.
I didn't know there were so many ways to work out not having modern equipment. These are unique ways to train for a fight. And I feel trained. And I'm coming for this guy.
There was so much left to learn of this ancient fighting art. But training was over. Now it was time for our final challenge. A chance for one of us to step onto the mat for a fight with a true pankration champion. Wherever you go in Greece, you're never far from thousands of years of history. And it's a violent history. The ancient Greek martial art of pankration was used here in combat and in deadly games. Now it was our turn to experience this ancient form of MMA in a full contact match against a real pankration expert.
The fight would be held at the Zapion in the heart of Athens. It was in this actual building in 1896 that the Olympic Games started up again after a hiatus of 2,000 years. Inside, we met with Laz and his fighter, Konstantinos Skepanakos.
See you again?
Good to see you too.
Yes.
Hey, welcome once again. Welcome once again. How are you? Hello. Yeah, he's one of our world champions, and he was actually serving in special forces in Greece.
So this is the guy that you have for us to fight?
What do you think?
What we thought was Konstantino looked big and fast. With almost 3 millennia of combat heritage behind him, he had the confidence of a true fighter and a true champion. Going toe-to-toe with him was definitely going to be quite a challenge. To decide which one of us would fight, we took a cue from the ancients and let the gods decide.
Now, let's do it the customary way as they did in ancient Greece.
Aris told us that in the ancient Olympics, fighters were selected by drawing lots from an urn. Each fighter's initials were inscribed on a lot. The athletes whose lot was pulled would fight.
These don't all say Bill, do they? Okay. There's B's and J's. All right, ready? It's a J.
That's a B.
See, but in Greek, B actually stands for J.
Okay, anyway. That's fair. That's the way we're gonna do it.
All right, you know what? I concede.
My uniform.
Here's your robe.
Thank you.
I'm in your corner.
Right.
Getting loosened up, I kept my mind on the techniques we'd practiced, thinking through how to use them.
We're moving. Our hands are up. Our hands are up. Our elbows are in. Yes. Good.
Tell you what, it feels great warming up for this fight. Felt great going all around Greece and learning this stuff. I'm hot, I'm ready. Got Jason in my corner, he's gonna be there for me. You ready, brother?
Let's do it, Bill.
Let's go.
The fight would have 3 rounds of 2 minutes each. There would be no hand strikes to the head or groin, but kicks to the head and knees to the body were allowed. A knockout, submission, or broken limb would automatically end the match. But it would also be scored by a referee. Points would be awarded for strikes, throws, and pins. And they would be deducted for illegal moves, punches and elbows to the face, and slams from a pin position.
Remember, he's going to be moving around a lot, so look for that kick to get it out of the way, get an angle, and take him down, okay? And then just breathe, all right, baby? All right.
My strategy for the first round was simple. Look for opportunities to use what I learned and stay loose and get a feel for my opponent. What I got was a good feel of his foot upside my head.
Get in there, Bill.
3 points for Constantino. It was obvious he planned to stay on his feet and rack up points with strikes.
Now use that.
But I wanted to use my Spartan ground techniques.
Get on top. Nice.
I got 2 points for the takedown and another 2 for the pin.
Bill.
Bill, work your left knee on his belly. Get your left knee on his belly. There, knee on his belly.
I want you to work for mount. There you go. Now go over to mount. Go over to mount. Go over to mount. Mount. Nice. Stay on his back.
Bill, circle outside of his lead leg.
Now you circle left. Whatever leg he's got in front, circle the other way.
I charged him, but Constantino caught me with a sneaky sacrifice throw. Hitting a 3-ton stone column is not the best way to break your fall. 3 points for him. With another reset, it was right back to the ground. Constantino was slippery. It was all I could do to keep him pinned to the mat.
Work to mount. Mount. You can hit him, Bill. You can hit his back. You can hit just not to the spine. Use your body to turn his head back in. There you go. Keep doing that. Keep cranking. There you go. Keep walking him. Walking back. Good. Walking back. A little more, Bill. A little more. One more. One more for me. One more.
And the first round was over. My throws and wrestling moves were giving me the edge, but I had to watch his strikes.
And keep your hands up, because he had a point for that kick.
Yeah, I know it.
The only
Kicked me right in the face.
Because that was 3 points. I think you have 6-3. I could be wrong, but you're definitely up on points.
I had to be careful of penalties. I'd learned a lot of pankration moves, but not a lot of rules.
Keep it tight, keep it tight.
Keep it tight.
All right, right now. So we're to the...
I began the second round trying Constantino's game, laying in some quick low kicks. And when he got close, I clinched him up and started going to town with my knees. 3 more points for me.
Now shoot it double. There you go, Bill. It's all right. Clinch, get inside, get inside.
Constantino shoved me off the mat into a column. I'd split my toe wide open on sharp marble. With my adrenaline way up, I didn't even notice till I saw the blood. In the birthplace of Socrates, I was trying to be philosophical about it.
So my toe has been marginalized by the marble, but that won't stop me. I don't know how many stitches it's gonna take, but not enough to keep me from going back out there.
After some iodine and a bandage, I was back in the fight. Constantino kept trying to fling me out of bounds, but I was too smart for that. Like a Spartan, I wanted to take the fight back to the ground. So I repaid him for the split toe by grabbing him by the collar and drilling him into the floor. I had become his nemesis. Slamming a pinned opponent was legal in ancient Greece. But it turns out times have changed. I had just lost 3 points.
So you can't slam him when you're on the ground. He took a penalty point for you? Okay?
I wish I could slam him like I was doing, because 5 or 6 more of those, his mouth would have been a bloody mess.
That penalty cost me. Constantino was now up 10-9. I had some ground to make up. Time to finish this thing. Constantino began round 3 by firing off some fast punches and kicks. I meant to aim for his body, but my old school pankration training took over, and I landed a right to his jaw. Another penalty.
Bill, he's saying you hit him in the head, and that's a no-no. Same thing, right to us, and I want to see a takedown. Look for that takedown. Let's go, buddy. Let's go. Come on, stay busy, Bill. Let's go. Let's go. Now take that. Leg sweep. Now take it. There you go. Keep doing that. Keep breaking. There you go. Keep passing.
He was too slippery, so I passed his guard, secured dominant body position, and attempted a shoulder roll.
Yes. Get your left elbow on the other side of his head.
This was a gift from the gods.
Get your elbow on the other side of his head. No, Bill, get on top,
He kept rolling on me, so I let go and ended this fight by bringing down an odyssey of pain.
Yes, again. Yes. Punch his body.
It seemed like this match could be mine.
They're going to add up the points to see who won.
The analytics actually pointed out 20 points to him and 18 points to him.
Just 3 points away from a win. In 500 BC, I would have had this guy out flat. But it looks like those penalties cost me the match. I couldn't be too upset with my performance, though.
It was a great fight. I'll tell you what, it was awesome just to step in the ring against a Pankration world champion and mix it up. I mean, I don't know all the rules, I don't know all the regulations, I broke some. You don't mean to do that, but the real thing is you tested yourself as a man against another man.